Welcome to CityWorks, Oceanside, a series about Oceanside's governance, services, and volunteer opportunities. My name is Diana Wendham, and along with Lynn Hinshaw and possibly others, we are going to be exploring how Oceanside is run, the services it provides, and how you might become involved by volunteering. We are going to explore City Hall and all its various aspects, the police department, the fire department, our beautiful library, Tri-City Hospital, the very necessity of life water, veteran services, and more. So come along and learn a little more about the city in which you live, Oceanside. Today's show is about...
Today we're going to examine not only our local government, the City Council, but see how the County Board of Supervisors affects our lives. We are fortunate to have Rocky Chavez, a former Oceanside City Council member, to help us along this journey, as well as interviews from Bill Horn, our County Supervisor, and Tom Reeser, Executive Producer of KOCT Channels 18 and 19, where you can find out what's going on in Oceanside. Well, welcome, Rocky. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be
I've
here.
Prepared a few questions for you about the importance of our city government and how it runs. Why don't we start off with you telling us about how Oceanside came to be?
Well, sure. Well, City of Oceanside was incorporated in 1888, and what incorporation means is back then the city fathers and mothers decided that we were going to have a city. And the city became what's called a general law city. And when you became a general law city, basically it dictated that we'd have 5 city council members, you'd have a city treasurer, you'd have a city clerk, and they could decide all the decisions for local governance within the city of Oceanside.
This is city law. Is that for all cities or in California? Does that apply?
Not all cities are general law cities. For example, like Los Angeles is not a city law city. They have a charter. They have a separate governance. But Oceanside chose, until recently, to be a general law city. And what's also interesting to note is that the history of Oceanside, if you get the opportunity, the Historical Society of Oceanside is a great place to go visit. And you can see Oceanside was pretty much along the coast, like Oceanside. And as it's grown out through the years, one of the best stories he's talked about, a gentleman named John Steiger, whose family's been there forever, owned the land prior to becoming a city, his family. And there was a time that the city of Oceanside at one time planned to go from the ocean all the way to Highway 15, and from Camp Pendleton all the way down to incorporate all of Carlsbad.
Well, if there's 5 city council members, what determines, why not 3 or 7? Again, that's the general law?
That's the general law. But now that we have a charter recently, if the citizens decide to change that, they have the ability to do it. And that was the recent initiative. But I think it's most important to understand, under a charter, it's extremely important to go through a public process and have the vote of the public involved in that.
What are the requirements to become a council member?
Well, you have to be born, you have to live within the city, and you have to be 18 years old.
And that's it?
That's it.
So anybody can go fill out an application and run for city council?
That's correct. But you understand, there's 186,000 residents in the city of Oceanside, and so that's a lot of ground to walk and shake hands on.
Right. Well, tell me, what services do Oceanside residents receive from their city? Why is city government so important for the residents to understand?
I think that's one of the best questions you can ask, is because when I used to walk around talking to people, a lot of people don't always think about the presidential race or the governor's race, but who actually impacts upon them on a daily basis is your city government. When I used to tell the young kids at school, they come out, I said, when you turn on that shower, that came from the city. When you started walking down the street on the sidewalks, that came from the city. When you stopped to play soccer in a park, that came from the city. If you have a problem with fire, the firemen, that's from the city. If you need public safety, the police, that's from the city. The city has so much more impact on their daily lives in the state or federal government.
Well, where does the budget come to do all of this? So you have to have money.
Well, the budget of the city is $112 million as of this year. And basically it comes from two main sources, property tax and sales tax. That's the majority of the budget. But there are other things called fees, franchise fees, where you're going to build a house, you're going to put fees. If you're going to put a water heater, you pay a fees. If you get a traffic ticket, there's a fees. So you have all these different fees that come into the city in itself to make up that $112 million. But the general is from property tax and sales tax.
How does the city council decide how to allocate these funds into these various entities?
That's the biggest, I'd say the second largest job that a council member does, and that is assigning the priorities to spend the money within the city. I would say the first job a council member has to do is listen to the residents. So once you understand the community and what they're trying to do, then you decide on the priority of assigning the money. Are we going to have a senior center? Are we going to have a park? Do we need more policemen? Do we need more public safety? Are you concerned about gangs? Those are the sorts of things where the city council member give the priorities to the city manager. But keep in mind, the council only sets the priorities. It's incumbent upon the city manager and his staff to execute the running of the city.
As a charter city, I understand that that means that the council can go out for bids for buildings or whatever they want. They can go outside of Oceanside for private enterprise to see if they can get lower rates, non-union. How has that worked so far for us?
Well, there's two different components to, I think, what you're asking me there. As far as the city building a project, before we became a chartered city, the general law in the state of California required that we provided prevailing wage established by the state of California. So there was a set price whenever you did a city project. Once you became a charter city, then the city could go on, if they were going to build a swimming pool, they could put it out on the open market. So it didn't exclude other organizations providing it. It just gave it a competitive advantage. How has it helped the city of Oceanside? You know, it helped a little bit, but there hasn't been a lot of building going on. Is the potential to be strong? Yes, it is. As we develop El Corazon and we start, I believe, doing more in the harbor, and you start seeing the widening and fixing of 78 and the 5, there's going to be a lot more opportunities where the city will be doing projects, and thereby you'll see savings in the millions of dollars because we became a charter.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Yes, it is, but you need to understand that the charter is really a protection of the citizens and figuring out how they want to grow the city. And that's where it goes, the issues. Do you need 5 council members, 7? Do you need to have districts? Do you want to have numbered districts? There's a lot of details in there, and that's why I mentioned earlier, the next step for the charter needs to be a very open public process.
Well, and open public, let's talk a little bit about volunteering in city government. Can you tell us where there is the greatest need, and what do our viewers do if they want to become a volunteer?
There's a great need. There's a great need. One of the sad things I've noticed since I became involved in the city is a lot of elimination of commissions and commissioners, and they were all volunteers. I think volunteers are really the lifeblood of the city, and I would say they need to come back. And if you're watching this show, what you should do is, what's your passion? If your passion is the library, join the library group. Museum of Art, join the Oceanside Museum of Art. If it's animals, join get involved in the Humane Society. If it's kids after school programs, I know the schools always are looking for people doing that. And the volunteer group for the police, I mean, you see them driving around, and they do a lot of great things, checking on seniors, checking on houses. So wherever your passion is to be a volunteer, volunteer, because what makes Oceanside really cool, I live in Oceanside, is because of the people.
And where can they go to apply for these?
There's 2 places they can go. If you really get on the computer, you can go on the internet and just look up in there on the different opportunities. Or you can talk to the human resource manager within the city. But they're the ones that could direct you. Or stop, you know what? Call a council member. That's what they're supposed to be doing anyway. So find out a place where they can, where you can plug in to make your city better.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, well, Rocky, would you mind speaking a little bit on affordable housing, please?
I'd like to, because affordable housing was one of the more complex issues I ran across in the city. For example, if you owned a piece of property and you could develop it and make $500,000 on it, or I took that same property and I rezoned it to affordable housing so you can make $100,000 on it, how would you feel about that? Probably not very happy, but that's where the council has to determine is how do we provide affordable housing and still recognizing the rights of the private citizen. Now, the state of California, along with San Diego's government system called SANDAG, has affordable housing goals for each city. And they want to have a right mixture of a community. You can think of some communities like Rancho Santa Fe, which probably doesn't have a lot of affordable housing. Where Oceanside has a whole spectrum. We have Rancho Santa Fe homes, and we also have affordable housing goals. So the council needs to figure out where they're going to put them. It was my belief it's best to put them in mixed-use facilities where you can have some economic value to it, but you have them, and also you put them on transit corridors where people who are in affordable housing can use buses or trains or some other means of transportation. So affordable housing, there's a lot of value to it because you can't build all those hotels and all these things without having people who are maybe lower in the economic spectrum to get there. So you got to have them in here, and you need to do it smart. And I always believe you need to do it in a way so you have places where children can play, because regardless of the parents' economic value, every child needs a safe environment to play in. So affordable housing, if done right, in a mixed-use facility, on transit corridors, can be a very good engine to a city, but it's a tough issue.
Boy, I bet it is. Before we go, I've got two quick more questions. First of all, tell us a little bit about what a council member's typical day is like.
It depends on the council member, but I'll tell you my typical day. There's always a morning breakfast. It's either the Kiwanis, it's the Rotarians, it's the Civitans. There's always a morning breakfast somewhere in the city that you can show up into. I generally like to meet the residents about 10 o'clock because I know they're up, and there's always an issue. It's a barking dog or a fence or a car not parked right. And it's a great opportunity for a council member to meet people. People who are doing business within the city, generally around noon or afterwards, and then in the evenings. One great thing about Oceanside is we have a lot of youth programs, and you can always go to the Boys and Girls Club, you can go to the soccer fields, the baseball diamonds, and get connected.
So you can fill up your day.
It is a 7-day-a-week job to be a council member. So when you select a council member, I would say, look at somebody who has a passion for the city, has the ability to listen, and willing to work as a team to make the city the way it should be.
Now, I know that the city council meetings are on KOCT. How often are they?
They vary. Just on Wednesday. I've been there. I've noticed that sometimes we met every week, sometimes we met 3 times a month, sometimes we met 2 times a month, but they're on Wednesdays, and they vary the time of the year. In the summer times, they generally reduce them a little bit because of kids are in school and vacations. But KOCT, and I would argue, one of the most important things that a city council member needs to do is communicate to residents, and there's no better venue than KOCT.
That's great. Well, I think we have probably less than a minute, but is there anything else you would like to add to this?
Just want to add the fact that the city of Oceanside has grown from a very small coastal community to the potential to be one of the economic engines of North County.
Isn't
It can only do that, provide a high quality of safe living for our residents with the involvement of the citizens. So please get involved, volunteer, know your council members.
Well, Rocky, it's been an absolute pleasure. I thank you so very much for coming to see us today.
Thank you. It's
Thank
an honor
you.
to be here. Invite me back for the next
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The San Diego County Board of Supervisors has been recognized nationally for their excellence in fiscal responsibility and action. We're so fortunate to have with us today a former Marine, a farmer, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and our County Board of Supervisor, Bill Horn. Bill, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let's just jump in on some of these questions. Please give us a little history and background on the County Board of Supervisors.
The county board was established in 1851, February 18th, which happens to be my birthday. I wasn't around in those days. But anyway, it was one judge for each county, and in those days there was about 38 counties. Today there are 58. The San Diego County, by the way, was headquartered out of Camp Pendleton, Pio Pico's Rancho thing, where former governor was. And so we were San Diego, Riverside, Orange County, Imperial County, and San Bernardino. So if you know how big that is, that's how big we were originally. And so you had one judge going around. So today we have 5. Each county has 5 supervisors, whether the small Alpine County, which is about 3 miles wide, or LA County, which is huge. They each have over 12 million people there, so they each have like 4 million constituents. San Diego County, we have about 3.2 million people. We are 5 supervisors. We all have an equal population. Every 10 years we do that math, and I lose people
The census.
North County is growing more than any place else. And so what we operate, we do not operate Lindbergh Field or Brown Field, but all the other airports are the counties, the Sheriff's Department, of course, all the jails, the Health Department, social services, all those child protective services, all those things you see government is doing, including the Health Department, the little A you have in your restaurant. If it's less than an A, go somewhere else. Anyway, but that's what we do, and we have about 17,000 employees. Our budget is about $5 billion a year, and that's what the supervisors do. We govern that.
Where does this $5 million budget come from?
About 25%, 27% comes from the federal government for earmarked programs like, let's say, food stamps or Department of Justice, housing prisoners, those kinds of things. About another 17, 18% comes from the state of California. They're returning our property taxes. About 17% of it is fees and what have you in the county of San Diego. Permits, and then of course property taxes. We get 14 cents of every dollar you pay in your property taxes. So about 14% of our budget comes from property tax. So that's kind of the whole piece of pie. It is not discretionary. Only the general fund is discretionary. That's about $360 million a year, based on a whole $5 billion budget.
How is all of this divvied up between the 5 supervisors?
It's not divided. The 5 supervisors govern on the county budget, which is about 300 pages deep. Each department, we have a general management system. We're the only county that does this. That was, you mentioned in the beginning, in the opening, that we've had the AAA bond rating, highest credit rating in the country. We've had that for 14 years in a row, and the reason we've had that is it doesn't just happen. I mean, we make it happen. We've learned a really good word in the English language, which is no. And so we encourage other other cities to say no also, because you can't overspend your budget. But anyway, we've had a very balanced, and the general management system is a very concise way of operating. We budget, we balance every month, every quarter, and we make adjustments to it. So we are not like other entities that do it once a year. They do it in June, get ready for July 1st. We do it every month, and every quarter we balance. And so given the size of our government business, we have 3.2 million people in the county of San Diego, so we cannot, cross our fingers and hope it'll happen. We have to make it happen.
You say we. What sort of a staff do you have to implement these?
Each supervisor has allocated a certain number of staff members. I'm allocated 12. I think I only have 9 right now. If I don't need them, I don't add them on. But we have an office in Vista, the Vista Courthouse, and we have the main office downtown where the government happens. By the way, if you're interested in contacting us, you can call us. 619-531-5555, because we're the 5th district.
One more time?
619-531-5555.
Thank you. Tell our viewers a little bit about your economic development plan, the Prosperity on Purpose.
I noticed over the years, if I could give you a quick little history, I sit on SANDAG, San Diego Association of Governments, and all the cities are represented. There's 18 entities, including the county. There's 18 cities, and the county is the 19th. And so they allocate a whole lot of money. And I've noticed over the years that money that should be going to North County doesn't go to North County. We get outvoted. And that's a big concern to me. So I took Poway and Del Mar, everything north. If I do that and the county's involved, we have 11 votes out of the 19, which makes us the majority. So I just have to get agreement amongst all these cities. So Prosperity on Purpose is to promote North County as a place to work, a place to live, and a place to play. And I want to advertise this nationwide. I want high-paying jobs to move into the area. Unlike City of San Diego, which is one city, I have, of course, I have Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, and San Marcos, and I can't leave out Escondido because that's to the other end of the 78 corridor. We want to promote that corridor as a place for companies to come and to move, and we want to give them incentives to do that. By the way, we have the tribes are involved with us. We have 5 gaming tribes in North County, more than some states have. They're huge generators of income. Even though their receipts are off at the moment, we have 3 of those operations that are in the $1 billion neighborhood, which it's a lot of money.
Well, while you're speaking about the tribes, can you further elaborate on the landmark agreement?
I got an agreement finally after years to get one of the tribes and to negotiate with the state of California and the governor over their gaming compacts to put a caveat in the agreement that that money be returned to the area in which it came from, which involves the county. State highways, Highway 76, Highway 15, that of the millions of dollars they pay to the state, earmark, and I suggested 35%, 40%, that would come back to the region to benefit the off-site mitigations for these big operations. So that was a huge agreement. As government to government, I finally got that done. We didn't get our way with the governor, but I think it's going to be a blueprint for how things are going to happen in the future.
Well, we certainly hope so. Well, on another topic, as a former Marine,
yes, Semper Fi.
You've contributed greatly to our 250,000 plus San Diego veterans. For instance, this beautiful facility we're in,
right.
And we thank Chuck Atkinson very much for allowing us to be here today. Chuck is the president of the Veterans Association of North County, and this is a lovely place for us, so thank you, Chuck, very much. Tell me, how do you get the funds to get a building like this?
Okay, each supervisor has $1 million that comes out of, we sold the trash system in '97 and paid off the debt. We relieved the county of about $68 million a year in debt service. We as supervisors said, hey, wait a minute, we want some of that to go to our districts for improvements and neighborhood, what have you. I spent a lot of money in the gang task force, as some folks will know, the SWAT team and all that stuff that's up here. That all comes from those kinds of monies. So anyway, we get $1 million, and so it was called community enhancement. And so what I like to take capital projects. This happened to have been a capital project. When they got the police station from the city of Oceanside, they came to me and said, we need money to refurbish this. I thought it warranted, after looking at the project and seeing what their plans were, the $100,000 that I gave them to help refurbish the building. And so that's what the grants are used for, mainly capital projects. But you got to remember, I have 35 communities in North County. My district is 1,860 square miles, so it's huge. And so $1 million doesn't go very far. I'm a big into history. I like historical societies. I like chamber of commerces, things that promote business, and highlight North County as a destination. So that's kind of how I use the money.
As we're running out of time, I'm afraid, I want you to
You can always have me back.
I will, and I want you to touch briefly for our viewers on volunteer opportunities within the County Board of Supervisors.
Oh, yeah, and first let me give this because I'll forget it. You can visit the website. It's bill.horn at sdcounty.ca.gov. And on there, I have a need for a lot of volunteers. I have a lot of boards I have to get people to serve on, and people can serve sometimes for 4 years. Other times they get on there and decide after 2 years they don't want to do it anymore. So I have a lot of rotating. I think I have about 8 openings at the moment on various boards. We look at your background, and we like you retired folks.
We have to wind it up now.
All right, we're winding up.
I'm so sorry.
Visit my website and can tell you more about it.
You are a pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so very much. As you can see, we're here at KOCT, and we are with Tom Reeser, the Executive Director. It's nice to have you here, and for us, thank you so much for allowing us to use your studio for this interview process.
Well, I'm excited about it. I think this is an important program for people to learn more about their community, and that's what KOCT is all about, for people to get connected to their local community through local media.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of KOCT and how it, in the past election, I was watching program after program on your stations, a wealth of information on what was going on.
We're very proud of the amount of election programming that we've provided for the past 20 years. We were born in 1984 from a retired engineer who came here and wanted to videotape city council meetings. And from there we've grown to one of the most prolific nonprofit community television stations in the nation. We've won a number of awards for that. We call ourselves a community TV station because every aspect of the community, from churches to government to education to sports, are covered on KOCT. I often tell people, if you want to be connected to your community, you need to be watching KOCT, because it's the only place to get election programming and a wealth of others. We cover the city council meetings, the county board of supervisors meetings, California legislation. So if you're a wonk and interested in politics, it's KOCT. If you're interested in community events or documentaries about the history of Oceanside, you should be watching KOCT.
Well, tell me where the viewers can see what's coming up in the next month. Well,
our new website, koct.org, is a great place, and we've just really refined and improved our program schedule. We've added a much better search engine, so you can go to the program schedule, type in the program you want, and it'll show you all of the days of the weeks and which channel. We have two channels, 18 and 19, your program would be on.
And that's koct.org?
.org.
Okay.
And, we're small and accessible. You can also call the front staff, and if somebody wants to know, when's the city council replay or when's this documentary, Sophie will let you know when it's on.
Are there volunteer opportunities here at KOCT?
Yeah, the woman that does our makeup, for example, is a volunteer, Carmel Bauer. She does a great job. And we have a number of other volunteers, but we primarily look for people with experience in television because it's a pretty sophisticated facility, and we need people that have some level of experience. We're a great opportunity for college and high school interns, but we also have a number of people at the other end of the age spectrum that we would not exist without their assistance, such as our engineer, Bill Peters, who just does a great job here at KOCT.
Well, Tom, it's just a pleasure to be here. I thank you so much for allowing us to be
You're
here.
welcome.
And I wish you the best. And
Great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.